Hi, I'm Lisa Haisha. Welcome to the Legacy Series. Today I have with me Alexis Carra, and she's an actress. She's an amazing woman all around. She's conscious. She has amazing friends. That's how I met her. And she really knows how to live life fully. She's not one of those women who came to LA and said, I've got to be a star, I've got to have fame. She came here saying, I want to do something I love, I want to give back, and I want to do meaningful work. And there's a stepping stone to that sometimes where you have to take certain jobs, but that's who she is in her heart. She wants to empower, she wants to educate, and she wants to live a life with, I guess, truth, love, meaning, and purpose.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's
Amen.
how I see you, and I don't know you that well. Like, that's my vibe. So I'm like, I want to interview her because you walk your talk. Yeah, and just seeing you at several events, you're just, you own yourself. You have that power.
Thank you.
And I want to share that with the audience because so many people are intimidated by LA, intimidated by going for their dream, or really having a voice.
Right.
And you're someone who said, I'm going to go up and do it, and have done it. You've achieved it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that, your journey, how you made it here.
Well, I would say the first thing that comes to me is speaking about, I come from a house where it's a very matriarch home. My mom was the powerful voice and breadwinner of the family. So one of the questions when we first were emailing, I was thinking about an obstacle that I had to overcome, and one of them would be that I don't have a relationship with my father. I never had a strong father figure or a positive one. And so I grew up in a home, I very connected to my grandfather, but I grew up in a home where my grandmother and my mom were these really strong, demonstrative, powerful women. And my mom's a PhD in psychology and has built a private practice for 40 years. And I just grew up watching my mom make it happen. She was worked full time. So my grandmother pretty much raised me, and I had a nanny, but she just I always knew she was there for me. And especially once I got a little older and I got past my mommy doesn't pick me up from school every day kind of a place, where actually I was okay with that, and I'd rather, carpool with the seniors, I really, from an early age, saw a woman creating results in her life. You know what I mean? She just always was active, in shape, there for me, but working. And I remember kind of bragging about her to my friends because some of my friends, even though they, I'm not to obviously down women who choose to not work, but it was just what my mom had to do because she was my father didn't create any.
Where
income
was
for
your
us.
father?
He was there, but I grew up with a father who had a mental illness, and he was unable to keep income, and was abusive, and my mom pretty much held out until I was 18, so that there was no custody issues. And so we really were a very close family as a result of that, and she really did everything she could to shield me from his harm, and she did. I mean, I had a wonderful childhood.
So you're saying he lived with you in the house?
He did.
Till you were 18?
He did. There were a few times where he was gone, but I mean, they didn't get divorced until I was 18. And that is my biggest obstacle, was that I didn't have a strong male figure. But I had this powerful mother and a grandmother who were positive and really taught me to go after my dreams and to stand up for myself and to always provide for myself. And I really think, of course, that came from the fact that my mom had to do it all.
Yes, yes,
she didn't have a partner helping her other than my grandparents.
Yes.
So it's like turning something that was not always, there were some really difficult moments and huge fights and, moments where I thought that I had inherited some of his mental illness. It was some dark times,
When did that happen to you? What age were you?
Between, I would say, 13, 14, 15 was a really tough age for me. like discovering, like, you know, like as a girl growing into a woman, like really seeing that needing like attention from a man, and how that played into, and my mom just always drilling into me like, you are your own woman. No one can give you or take away from you who you are at your core. And she was always just like, as hard as she was on me, she would always say things like, you're confident, you are smart, you're intelligent, you are giving, you're kind. No man can take these things from you or give you those things. Those are who you are. And no matter what your father says or doesn't say or does or doesn't do, like, this is who you are. And she still says those things, you know, like her advice is always to anchor back into who you are. And so I just had this mom who was just really always thinking she was a powerful and a creator, and kind of hard on me, but very positive. And so there was always an element of, you know, try your best, go for broke. That was one thing she always said to me, go for broke. You know, because then, you know, if you've studied your hardest on your science, your biology exam, and you really put in the hours, and you can go to bed at night and think to yourself, did I really try my best? And only you can answer that. And if the answer is yes and you still get a C or you fail, it doesn't matter, because you've tried your best.
Absolutely.
So that was the philosophy, and I think that has translated into being in a field that is not linear. So the amount of hard work or time you've put into it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be successful.
Yeah, you're not getting a PhD, taking these courses, getting the degree, getting a job, and getting clients right away, working for somebody.
Right.
So when did you decide you wanted to be an actress?
Well, I was 19, and I was going into my junior year of college, and I was doing a summer program with Anne Ranking. It was called Broadway Theater Project, and she pulled me into a stairwell and offered me a job on the spot with the national tour of Fosse. And I called my mom, and she was like, I think she was a little bit, and it was in Japan. We were going to Japan for 2 months, and she was a little bit like, oh my gosh, you know, like, I don't know about
exciting,
this.
though.
And
God,
yes,
yeah.
but like, so, and it was very exciting, and I just made it happen. Like, again, I was like, Mom, I took, you know, thank God you pushed me to take all those AP classes, because I was accelerated. I was ahead of my class.
Yes.
So I was able to take the semester off and not lose any like credits. So I did that, and I went. And I came back, and I hadn't declared a major yet, because it's, you know, I went to Yale, so it's liberal arts, very kind of like you didn't really have to declare a major really until your end of your junior year. And when I came back, I was like, I want to do this. This is my heart, my passion. And my mom was really, she was really supportive.
That's great.
So I was.
So when you came to Hollywood, then where were you?
Well, I went to New York first.
Okay.
My biggest dream was to dance on Broadway.
Okay.
And so I did that. And
What age?
I moved to New York after college. So I graduated. Let's see, I was 21, 22, and I was on Broadway within a year. So I was 23, I guess.
Okay, so how do you make things happen? I mean, nobody comes away with those stories like that, or very few. So
I really feel like it's...
Do you map out a plan? Did you say, this year, this is what I want to do? Did you put it on paper? How do you structure your days?
Well, I think at that point, I was never... I liked to make lists, and I would definitely, like, I was big into journaling, and kind of like, at the time, I didn't know what I was doing, because I wasn't in, like, I don't think that the sort of industry of, like, self-help or goal setting, like I hadn't really tapped into that yet. I just would like write out fantasies like in my journal. So I was like visualizing.
Okay.
Without knowing that I was visualizing.
Yes.
I just was like, I would dream about it and share about it.
How do you get on Broadway within a year?
Well, I worked hard. I mean, I just went to open auditions. I was always in class. This is where I think like, you know, where I say that the industry is not linear, which it's not, but if you don't work hard, you're definitely not going to get there. So I knew, I had a knowingness that I was meant to be like meant to be a dancer. It was part of what I felt was my purpose on
And you've
the
been
earth.
Studying dancing
since I was 2.
So yeah.
So it was a part of my, it's a part
Yes.
of my DNA. It's a part of like when people see me and when they see me perform, it's like, oh, this is like part of your purpose. And I think part of my purpose, which as I get to a place where I've transitioned a little bit more away from dance, I always end up going back to it. And I think one of the things that I envision is creating a dance company that involves like educating children through
Yes.
movement and body awareness. And I've always wanted to have a nonprofit that gives children opportunities to learn about their bodies. And I've been inspired by several other that have been created that are similar to what I think I would like to do ultimately. So
I think that's what I noticed about you. It was your presence.
Thanks.
Even in a crowd, you look at you and you go, her presence, and I think it's your posture and just how you carry yourself. You have something. You have that it quality.
Thank you.
You know, where people stare.
Well,
So-
I think like, yeah, in dance, there is a certain level of confidence
Yes.
that comes with it because I know my body and how
Yes.
it takes up
and
space.
you're in your body.
Yeah.
You're in your core at all times.
Totally.
When I work out all the time, I feel completely different.
Yeah.
Compared to when I go, I took a couple months off, I got off track, and it's like, oh my
Right.
God, who is this? You don't feel like you don't.
Yeah.
And it shows, it translates. It
Absolutely.
really does.
And I've never not been like, it's funny, like I making nutrition or workout a part of my life is something that I've never had to like necessarily, I never lose it because it's just a part of my being. If I haven't danced in a couple of days or sweat or, you know, something, I feels like the barometer of everything is off for
Cranky
me.
pants.
Because I just, I grew up
Yeah.
in the studio, you know, every day of my life,
Yeah.
pretty much since age 2.
Wow.
So yeah, I think that, you know, I knew, I also was somebody who like was fearless in terms of like, I think that there was another event that happened in my life that shifted where I had to where I lost a little bit of this fearlessness and then I had to come back to it. But in my early 20s, I remember I went to go see Wicked on Broadway and I was like, I'm going to be in that show. Like I just cried watching the show and I had a friend in it and I was so happy for her. I went backstage and I was just like, this show, I could still cry thinking about it because I remember seeing it in the message of these two powerful women and how it connected to the Wizard of Oz, which is so much a part of like my childhood. And I was like, I want to be in this show. And that was my first Broadway show. And I don't think that was by accident. Like I was like, I know I can be in this show. I know I can add to this. Like this is where I'm supposed to be.
So do you believe in every moment of your life you're choosing either to win or to lose? Like each choice you make?
I don't.
Subconsciously?
I believe every moment of our life is absolutely a choice. I don't know if I see anything now, even if it feels like a loss, and I feel like I'll let myself experience those experiences, like, oh, this feels awful. But I see everything as how can I make this a win-win? There's like a win-win in everything. Even if I don't see it at the moment, like I just sort of put it out there, like I know that this is a win-win somewhere. So I don't even know if it's like a win-lose paradigm for me anymore. But that's definitely something that I've shifted into in the last couple of years. Definitely not in my early 20s. Like I would feel rejection, like because as an actor, you're going to audition after audition after audition, and you book way less than you don't book. So that rejection can take a toll.
Of course.
For sure.
And a lot of people quit. A lot of people go to drugs, alcohol, whatever to deal with it. Sex.
Everything.
Anything to feel loved, feel like they belong someplace.
Yeah, because especially when it's your passion, it's connected to your self-worth. So if you're not receiving any external validation, it's a challenge. And I remember my mom like saying to me, well, it's normal that you feel this way. Like don't beat yourself up for feeling really sad or confused, because even, you know, a doctor who's in their residency and isn't going to practice for another like 6 years because they have to go through all these, like they're getting like some kind of external validation by the fact that like you get a grade and there's like some kind of literal tangible results. Of course, you know, they're dealing literally with life or death, which, and you know, I do find that I've always been able to go, let me like keep this in perspective here. Like no one's dying.
Yes, exactly.
No one's dying. And And then I always would go back to things like my mom said, nobody can take away the fact that I know I'm intelligent, I'm kind. Like if I stop choosing this career, I will choose something else purposely and powerfully, and I will be good at that. So I would remind myself of things that like no casting director or whatever it was couldn't take away from me.
So what advice do you have for someone who's already made choices in their life that are huge setbacks and they don't have the energy, maybe the courage that someone like you would have naturally?
Baby steps. I think if it's something like personal, like in a relationship or something, like I would say that there's little things that you can do every day to invest in yourself that can move you baby step closer to what it is that you actually want. Do you know what I'm saying? So like if somebody's stuck in a corporate job and they're unhappy but they feel like they can't leave because their family's depending on them, then okay, what's one thing? Well, what about if you take a dance class every Sunday morning? That's it for now. Maybe you really wanted to, you think I don't know what it is. Do it every day.
What if someone has lost it all and has to start from scratch? They have no job, no money, no relationship, and they're floundering like so many people today. So many people who call here, the Soulblazing Sanctuary, for help. They're like, I just lost everything. I don't even have a job to pay for counseling, and I screwed up. I made this big decision. Now I'm dealing with shame or guilt, or they've got something big going on. Someone like you really seems to know how to take anything, especially what you're saying, growing up with a father who had mental illness or something, how to take something, flip it into a positive, or to digest it differently, where you go, okay, I'm going to make this a strength. This is going to be an asset. So I'm getting this. I'm going to turn it into that. I'm going to dance harder every day. I'm going to be more determined, whatever it is. What advice would you have for someone who's saying, I don't even know how to go on anymore?
I think, and this is something that I'm actually practicing now, like in those moments of, an overwhelm kind of a moment, what I would advise people is, okay, this is where you've got to sit and close your eyes and get still about what is it that you're really feeling right now. Because all of our emotions are little messengers to what it is that we're either needing to rejuvenate, release, honor, share. Like they're little emotions are messengers in and of themselves as to what's working and not working. So I feel like if somebody is feeling like they're doing it all wrong or something, I would say, okay, we need to sit down and you've got to anchor yourself. I practice meditation, and I've been working with a wonderful woman actually out of Chicago, a therapist that does a lot of, we do a meditation where you kind of anchor yourself to the ground, and you're also connecting to your auras above you, and there's creating a light around you, and then you just kind of sit with, all right, what are these feelings that are coming up for me? And I really have to process the feelings and then ask myself the questions of what is it that I'm really asking for right now? What do I really need right now? Because it could be something simple as maybe somebody, it's what is something we always have is our word. You can always follow through on something. So sometimes if I'm really down in the dumps, the first thing I need to do is focus out. And how can I be of service to somebody else?
Yes.
And then immediately you've created self-worth by going, I committed to this, I'm following through with it. What do I have? I have my word.
Yes.
I'm a person.
Even if it's starting today.
If it's now. Literally, I am a person of my word. I said I was going to go to this local church and volunteer at the soup kitchen on Wednesday night. I don't feel like it. I hate my life. I hate my mom. I hate my dog, whatever. I'm going to do it.
Yes.
You've created a little ounce of self-worth.
Especially in this town, there's so many people who tried for 10 years, 15 years to become actors or writers or directors and singers, performers, and they haven't made it. Now they're like, I don't have anything, and they're struggling, going, if I could take back time knowing I didn't get it. But I know from listening to you, they probably didn't put in as much energy and focused energy as you do, or have a plan. Yeah. Because if you really work hard at something every day, you get further. At least you get 1 or 2 jobs. Some people, so they didn't have a game plan in place. So I think one thing is a game plan.
Yeah.
And really, if you're not 1,000% committed, don't do it. Exactly. Especially this town.
You have to go for it.
You have to go for not even 100%. If you go 99, someone else is going 110.
Yep.
They're going to get it. Even if they're not as good, people see the energy and they're more committed.
Yep.
They're knocking on more doors.
Yep.
Like I used to live across the street from Sandra Bullock right before she got Speed.
Oh, wow.
And she was going, oh, God, I think I'm going to quit. It's just not working out, and I'm sick of all these other roles and, just dumb roles that she was doing. Because I'm just doing this stupid movie, Speed. And she said, oh, I'm going to leave the country because she thought it was going to bomb and not do well. And then she came back a huge star.
Life-changing.
I said, what do you do? Because I kept seeing people go in and out of her house. She said every Friday night she did a play reading. So every Friday she was in a play. And she said Monday through Friday, she brought her headshots to at least 2 casting people or 2 people who didn't know she existed. Producers, directors, casting people. That's commitment. Whether she was the best actress or not 20 years ago, she was getting work because she was always friendly, nice, and there.
And committed.
And available. I'm here. Letting everyone know she was there, not hiding in her apartment or sitting at Starbucks talking about other actors who are doing that.
Complaining,
Yeah.
I absolutely did all that stuff. I was always in class. I'm a big advocate of class. I was always, if I can help a fellow actor with like auditions, it's because you're always learning.
Yes.
So it's like, how can I help people? I'm definitely a fan of creating your own work. So it's like just write your own little short and shoot it. So I did that a couple of times. I would just shoot things with people.
And camaraderie.
Anything you can do, absolutely, because it creates community.
Yeah, I know you're part of a group called the New Hollywood, and it's like a goals group, and you guys stick together. And tell me about that a little bit. I know Brianna, but how being part of something like that is so beneficial to your career, because it's not just helping each other, it's the spirit too, right?
Sure,
it's the heart.
Absolutely.
You have someone to cry on their shoulders, I didn't get this part, and to celebrate with, because if you're doing it all by yourself, it's
definitely not as fun.
It's not as fun.
No.
It's very lonely.
Very lonely and very, very dark. Well, I think with the New Hollywood, and Brianna is one of my best friends, so I know for her, especially because she founded it, and it's really grown as more and more of us are, we're all very committed to it. And the mission of it, the vision of it, which is for women to support each other in their dreams, like as purely and simple as that. And I think a lot of it came from, and I know Brianna is going to be here, so she'll share whatever personal parts of it she wants to share. But for me, I find being around people who I can be vulnerable in front of, where I don't have to. I'm not worrying about being perfect, or I have to prove a certain thing. And I even have come in as far as that, because initially in the goal group, I wanted everyone to think that I was, the first couple of years, it was like, well, but I've accomplished my goals, and I still was wanting to feel like I'm
You're
awesome,
really
I'm
together.
the best. Yeah. And then, I know people say, when you start to, get into your 30s, all that stuff starts to go away.
At 40, it's like, whatever.
Whatever. This is where I'm at.
Yeah.
And all of us are kind of in that. A lot of us are, I've been in the group now for 5 or 6 years, and so we've seen each other through our mid-late 20s, and now we're all in our early to mid-30s, and so we're all in that place where we're just this is me, this is where I'm at. And so having a community where you can be exactly where you're at and loved and accepted, and then because we trust each other and we've created the level of trust we have, then you can have people gently nudge you, well, what about if you look at it this way? Or, how about try this? So then you're ready to receive support to shift you out of wherever you're in once you're ready. And we know we have each other's back, and confidentiality. And, that's, at one point I went through a really, really bad breakup, and I thought about kind of running back to New York, which is like a comfort zone for me. Being in New York is ironically a comfort zone.
I get that.
And one of the main reasons why I didn't, besides the fact that I knew in my heart I hadn't gone for it fully yet here, was because of the New Hollywood, because I knew those women were there. And I'll never forget receiving a card from them. I was just a really tough time. I had an engagement that ended, and I received a card from them, and they just said, we're here to support you. And that card, I still have that card, and that card just was everything to me, knowing that like a group of 20 women were thinking and understood at that moment, and that I could call any one of them, like, because I was really dark. And sure enough, like it just like it pushed me through, and I'm so glad that I stayed, because otherwise I would have given up on myself. And so the New Hollywood was a huge part of that.
That's beautiful, because I think that's such an important thing. So many people are in it by themselves, and they're looking at everyone as competitors instead of people as other actors, as we're all in this together. Your win is my win. And if you have that kind of camaraderie, you could reach the stars.
It's a win-win.
It is, because when you get excited about someone or you're there to support someone, it's karma. It comes back at you because you are your thoughts. And if you're thinking good things about other people, you're thinking about yourself. And people sense that energy in you.
The getting
if you're
is
like,
in the
oh,
giving.
I'm jealous, or I'm this, people pick up on that. And then you're in an audition, you're going, I think I nailed it, because you got all the words right, memorized, you knew, the arc of the character, but it was the spirit behind it, and it's just not there.
And it is, like, I think, and that's one of the things, like, in the downtimes, focusing out, the getting, I kind of will say that to myself, like, the getting is in the giving, because it really does, as soon as you've made a difference in somebody, and it can be really, it doesn't have to be like, oh, and I started a nonprofit, and I, went to Africa and fed 700 people. It can be something as like, I'm gonna smile at every single person today and just say hi. And you never know what can happen.
Yes.
So that's another thing that I tend to, one of my kind of places that I go where when I get like a little discouraged is when I get to, when I'll think really big, but sometimes I think so big that then I don't know where to start. So I get into like overwhelm mode. No, I'm not doing enough, and then I'm like, okay, baby steps, start small, like just one thing at a time, because making a difference. There's no like the energy of making a difference to ask somebody how they're doing, or pick up the phone call and like call somebody that maybe you've been avoiding and just say, hey, you know what, I'm thinking about you. That is the same like molecular. Like, to me, it feels, I don't know scientifically, but to me it's like the same synapses firing and the same energy that of the people who are like, world game changers, like the Gandhis and stuff.
Yes.
It's the same, it's the kernel of that. So I think it's important, like I wake up and I think, every day I think, how can I serve, I believe in God, so how can I serve God today? How can I make a difference today? Every day. What am I doing to make a difference? And that will push me through, like,
that's a great
maybe
advice
avoiding
to give someone. Yes.
a phone call, or I don't really feel like doing this or whatever, but no, I'm gonna show up and be my word and like commit to this thing and
do the hardest things first.
Yeah, and a lot of times that ends up being for myself, because like any normal person, there's certain things that I avoid because I'm not like, I don't really love doing my QuickBooks online. Like I'm not, I'm like,
you don't like that?
I know, like I want to hire
so
a business manager or whatever. And then I'm like, no, you know
course.
what though? Like, and that's part of also what I love about the New Hollywood is we create levels of accountability. So it's like, no, you know what? I committed to doing, and it's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to do whatever it takes. If I have to stay up an extra hour because I spent, time getting my nails done with my friend and had a great time, then I'm staying up an extra hour. But I committed to myself to like doing this. So that's today I committed to doing 2 months of balancing my QuickBooks. So it's on camera now.
All right. Good for you. So can you give me 3 tips for the people who are going to be listening and watching this of how to create a life that matters?
Focus out. How can I make a difference every day?
Okay.
Give it 1,000%. Go for broke. And my mom says that phrase, and I've sort of adapted it, but I really think it's like go for all.
But what if someone doesn't have the energy to do it? How do you lift them up and say, go for it all? That's such an easy thing to say, but to do
then I would say take a baby step. Like,
okay, so
what
create
is it that you create it every day.
Okay.
One
Something.
thing a day.
Okay.
And celebrate that. Like if
that's huge. Celebration.
I did, I said I was gonna, I want to learn Spanish. I think that also it's like thinking like dream, like to let people dream. So sometimes I say like, just get outside and go for a walk and kind of like let yourself dream a little bit. What is it? What's your vision? Like connecting to like your vision of what you imagine your life to be and what like excites you. And then one thing a day towards that. One thing. And it can be very small. And those things are going to add up at some point, and you never know when something's going to change. So that would be another thing. One thing a day towards your vision.
Okay, so when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, what do you want to be known for? What do you want your legacy to be?
You know, that question, you know, in thinking about that before I got here, I want to have a family that knows me, a family like a created family. I really want to be a mother, so I do want my legacy partly to be in that, and the love of that, and creating a family with a partner. But I also want the legacy to be my legacy to be in the stories that I've told, and the pieces of whether it be like dance or
God, it's beautiful.
I've
never heard someone say that before.
Yeah, like just storytelling. And it can even just be in the sense that, like, you know, at my funeral, I want people to have a lot of stories to tell. Like, that's a legacy to me. Like, remember when we did this and the experiences. And it's like, to me, the biggest thing is in any kind of art, have I touched someone? Have I made a difference in them by the role that I'm playing or the story I'm telling, and that like somebody is like connecting to something in themselves, like either whether it's laughing or crying, whatever it is that has made them kind of just like have that moment of, oh wow, you know, that reminds me of this, or I feel that way, or I've felt that way, just that moment of touching somebody.
Yes.
So that legacy, and then the legacy of honoring. I really feel like I want to teach other people how to live lives of a purpose. So I want a community of students and teachers. Like I've been a teacher my whole life.
Yes.
I've been a dance teacher, and I haven't been teaching as much lately, and I feel like I'm kind of ready to go back to it, because it really is a way to teach, not just like, for example, I'm teaching dance, but like a way of thinking. And I've always found like my students, we've always set goals, so I really want to create a legacy of students that I've made a difference to, and how they might think about approaching their lives with positivity and tenacity and strength and purpose. Yeah.
Beautiful. Very well said.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're glowing.
Oh, good. I feel glowing. I'm really happy.
It shows. It shows. When I look
you.
into your eyes, I really see that they're clear. You know, you could go right deep, right inside you.
Thanks.
So thank you so much for sharing.
Absolutely. This is great. I love what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah, it's really beautiful. I'm inspired.
Yeah, and you just share from your heart, which is so just wonderful. Great for our viewers.
Awesome.
So thank you so much. And great
You're
for me
welcome.
too. I feel like I learned from you. So
good.
it's a win-win.
Good. Win-win.
So thank you so much for
Absolutely.
joining
You're
us here.
welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Bye.